Deep in the dense forests of Northern California, something was stirring, something unsettling. 5 rogue male bears, usually solitary creatures, had started behaving in a way no ranger had ever seen. They weren't just marking territory or wandering aimlessly. These bears moved with a strange, almost coordinated purpose, circling camps, testing fences, inching closer to vehicles as if sizing up their world. Forest rangers, led by Michael, felt the tension rise. This wasn't just an animal, behaving wildly. It was a story unfolding right before their eyes, one that spoke of more than instinct. The air was thick with unease, like the forest itself was holding its breath. Michael couldn't shake the feeling that these bears were trying to send a message, a cry for help from the wild. But what exactly were they trying to say? The usual protocols weren't enough anymore, and as the rangers braced for confrontation, something unexpected was about to change everything. The forest was heavy with tension, every rustle in the leaves echoing like a warning. Ranger Michael and his team were on edge, expecting the worst, as the 5 rogue bears had been circling their camp relentlessly. The bears' behavior was unlike anything they'd ever witnessed, aggressive, calculated, and almost eerily coordinated. But just as the standoff seemed inevitable, the unexpected happened. Out of the misty clearing appeared a young girl, barefoot and calm, holding a small red cloth in her hand. Her bearer name was Lily. The bears, notorious for their unpredictable nature, suddenly shifted. Their growls softened into low murmurs. One by one, the 5 massive bears stepped back from their tense positions and approached her gently, as if she belonged to them. It was a moment so surreal, Michael had to remind himself to breathe. Years ago, a toddler had vanished during a wildfire near this very mountain village. Rumors whispered about a child raised by animals, but no one dared believe it, until now. The red cloth Lily carried was unmistakable, the same found at the fire's scene. As she moved among the bears, the tension lifted like fog in the morning sun. It was as if the bears and Lily shared a secret language, one spoken not in words, but in trust and understanding. Michael watched closely, heart pounding, realizing that this wasn't just an unusual encounter. This was a story of survival, belonging, and perhaps even rescue. Not just of a lost girl, but of something far greater. The bears had been trying to send a message, and Lily, in her quiet way, was the bridge between the wild and the humans who sought to protect it. There was something deeply human in Lily's presence, a silent plea embedded in her calm defiance of fear. The rangers, once ready to defend against a threat, now found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about the animal kingdom and the fragile balance they were trying to protect. This was no longer a rescue mission in the traditional sense. It was a call to listen. The forest seemed to hold its breath once more, waiting for the next chapter of this unusual alliance to unfold. What Lily revealed next would change everything the rangers believed about their role in this wilderness, and about the bears who had become her unlikely guardians. The clearing where Lily stood was quiet, almost sacred. Her bare feet barely stirred the fallen leaves as she began to speak, her voice soft but steady, a voice that seemed shaped by the forest itself. She told the rangers something they never expected to hear. The bears hadn't gone rogue out of malice or instinct alone. No, they were warning of something far more dangerous, something gnawing away at the heart of the forest. "There's a noise in the earth," Lily said, her eyes scanning the trees as if they held the forest's secrets. "Machines that tear the ground apart. The forest can't sleep anymore." Her words weren't just a child's imagination. They were a desperate message, a story, from the wild itself. For years, rumors had whispered about illegal mining operations hidden deep within these protected forest lands. The rangers had dismissed them as nothing more than tall tales, the kind of stories that grew like weeds on the edge of civilization. But Lily's words gave those rumors a voice, turning suspicion into stark reality. Michael and his team followed Lily's directions through thick underbrush and tangled roots, the forest around them alive with sounds both familiar and foreign. Every snap of a twig, every distant call of a bird, seemed to remind them that they were intruding into a place that had long been silenced by machines. The deeper they went, the clearer the signs became. Scars on the earth where trees had been ripped from their roots, the acrid smell of fuel lingering in the air, and the distant hum of heavy machinery cutting through the wilderness. This was no ordinary animal rescue or forest patrol. It was a confrontation with a threat that was slowly devouring the wild from within. The bears, once seen as threats, now appeared as guardians trying to hold back an invisible enemy. Bruno, the lead bear, moved with purpose beside the rangers, guiding them toward the source of the destruction. His dark eyes reflected a fierce determination, a protective instinct that transcended species. As the rangers reached the illegal mining camp, they were met with the harsh reality of human impact on the wild. Families living off the grid, heavy, machines tearing up the land, and a community oblivious or indifferent to the devastation they were causing. The bears' aggressive circling earlier wasn't just territorial behavior. It was a protective stand, a desperate attempt to shield their home. Michael felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. The story unfolding wasn't just about a lost girl or 5 rogue bears. It was about the fragile balance between nature and human greed, a story that needed to be told and acted upon before it was too late. Yet even as they gathered evidence, the rangers knew this was just the beginning. The forest held its breath again, and the bears, silent sentinels of the wild, prepared to act once more. What came next would reveal the true strength of the bond between Lily, the bears, and the land they all called home. The thick canopy above filtered the sunlight into mottled patterns, shadows shifting like whispered secrets. Guided by Bruno, the lead bear whose powerful presence seemed to command the forest itself, the rangers approached the hidden camp with a mix of caution and resolve. The place felt like a scar on the land, heavy machinery half buried in mud, rough shelters haphazardly built, and signs of human life clashing with the wilderness around them. The rangers moved quietly, gathering evidence. Fresh tire tracks cutting through once untouched soil, piles of discarded tools, and the unmistakable scent of gasoline mingling with pine. This was more than an animal rescue operation. It was a delicate mission to protect the fragile balance between nature and human encroachment. Suddenly, the crunch of footsteps alerted the campers. Families living off the grid, some wary, some indifferent, had noticed the intrusion. Tension thickened the air, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. The rangers knew confrontation was inevitable. Before they could speak, the bears emerged from the shadows. But this wasn't the chaotic attack anyone expected. Bruno and his companions charged forward, not with blind fury, but with a calculated force that disrupted and intimidated. They moved like shadows of the wild, circling the camp, their powerful frames casting a warning that went beyond words. The bears' protective stand wasn't about aggression for the sake of violence. It was a desperate act to safeguard their home, their sanctuary from machines tearing it apart. The humans, caught between fear and awe, watched as the wild guardians asserted their presence, a living, breathing testament to the land's resilience. Michael and his team took advantage of the moment. They collected the evidence, documented the camp, and relayed urgent reports to authorities. But there was a secret kept close. Only the rangers knew the true extent of the bears' involvement. The animals, often misunderstood as threats, had become unlikely heroes in this unfolding story. As the bear's shadow faded into the forest, the camp was abandoned. The heavy machines fell silent, and a fragile peace began to seep back into the earth. The rangers felt the weight of what had transpired, a rare moment where nature and humanity intersected in a silent truce, held together by a girl raised by bears and the animal's fierce protectiveness. Yet the story was far from over. The forest's heartbeat quickened once more, as if the land itself whispered a warning. There was more to uncover, more to understand. And Lily's story, intertwined with the wild guardians, was only just beginning to unfold. The forest breathed again, slowly healing from the scars left by human greed. The illegal mining site was shut down, the heavy machines dismantled, and the earth, once ripped apart, began to knit itself back together beneath the canopy of towering trees. This wasn't just a victory for the rangers or the laws they upheld. It was a testament to the quiet power of the wild and the unlikely bond forged between a girl and the bears who raised her. Lily never sought the spotlight. She became a silent guardian of the forest, visiting the protected wildlife corridor each year. Barefoot and gentle as the breeze, she left small offerings, wildflowers, a ribbon, a whispered thanks, tokens of respect and memory to the bears who had saved her, and the land that cradled them all. On one cool evening, as dusk painted the sky with hues of lavender and gold, Lily spotted the bears watching from a distance. They were the same guardians, powerful and calm, their eyes reflecting the ancient wisdom of the forest. She knelt on the soft earth and whispered a simple word, one that echoed across the silence. Thank you. It was a message without grand speeches or headlines, but it carried a weight deeper than any declaration. It spoke of belonging, of a shared history written in paw prints and footprints, in quiet moments beneath the stars. The bears weren't just wild animals anymore. They were a symbol of harmony, of coexistence in a world that often forgets the sacred bond between humans and nature. The story of Lily and the bears rippled beyond the forest. People were captivated not by the dramatic bust of illegal operations, but by the image of a little girl honoring her wild family. A story that touched on something primal and beautiful within all of us. It was a reminder that sometimes the fiercest protectors wear fur, not armor, and that the loudest voices can be the silent ones standing watch over the earth. Michael kept the bears' role a quiet secret, knowing some truths are better left whispered between the trees. Yet the message was clear. Protection is a two-way street. Respect for the wild brings harmony. Neglect invites chaos. Lily's story became a quiet call to action, a gentle nudge for people to listen to the earth's subtle cries and to see the wild not as something to conquer, but as a family to cherish. The legacy of that summer in Northern California lingered like a soft song, a tale of resilience, compassion, and the unbreakable thread weaving humans and animals together. And every year when Lily returned, she wasn't just visiting a place. She was rekindling a promise between the wild and the human heart, a promise that the story of coexistence would continue to be written, one step at a time. As we close this chapter of a little girl raised by bears and a forest fighting back against destruction, ask yourself, what does it truly mean to belong? Can we ever bridge the gap between human and wild? Fear and understanding? This story isn't just about rogue animals or heroic rescues. It's a mirror reflecting our own struggles to protect what we love and respect. Have you ever witnessed a moment where nature surprised you, maybe even changed you? If this tale stirred something deep inside, imagine what other stories await, of wild hearts, quiet courage, and unexpected connections. You might want to check out our video about the lion who found family in the jungle or the elephant who saved a village. Stories where the invisible thread of empathy ties us all together. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. There's so much more waiting to touch your heart and open your eyes to the unseen bonds in the wild. What will you take away from Lily and the bears' story? Share your thoughts below. Your voice makes this community richer.